Hello everyone, welcome to GV Reddy's Automation World. Right, this is the continuation of the API testing interview question. If you haven't watched the previous video, please go and watch it. Right, thanks for thanks for watching. Right, then we will continue with the remaining API questions. What are the challenges included under API testing? Right, definitely we will get this question. What are all challenges? Right, while executing A/B test cases, what are the things we have to make sure? Right, reliability, performance, right, how fast it is when you trigger the request, how fast it is getting response, right, security of the application, right. There might be handling different HTTP methods and status codes, right, ensuring correct responses for all the get, post, put, delete, patch requests, right. We have to make sure each and every right method is giving correct response code or not. Right, create the test case for all HTTP methods response codes. Right, we can use the tools like Postman, REST Assured, JMeter for automation. Right, we have to make sure all. Right, if we miss anything, we will get a issues. Right, then parameterization and dynamic data handling. Right, managing path parameters, query parameters, optional parameters, right, encoding, right, whenever special characters are there, it is right, we have to make sure encode the URL, otherwise it will not work. Right, we have to use the data driven frameworks like REST Assured or TestNG, JUnit. Right, then authentication, authorization, right, different authentication we will get basic authentication, right, OAuth authentication, JWT, API keys. Right, handling token expiration is the difficult challenges. Right, sometimes what will happen if whenever we will create the token, sometimes after execution of few scripts, it is taking longer time. It may be 1 minute expiration token. Suppose, see, we will get a very difficult challenge. In that case, what we have to do? Right, before execution each test case, we have to verify whether it is expired or not. If it is expired, we have to create the new one. That is, we can tell one challenge, right? We can role based access control, right? That is also automate the token generation and refresh mechanism in API test. Use security tools to check vulnerabilities, right? This is optional, right? But if the client asks, right, our code has any vulnerabilities or not, we have to use right, WhatsApp or JAP to check the vulnerabilities in our code. Handling API dependencies, third-party integration. Right. APIs may depend on external service database microservices. Third-party APIs are limits and downtimes. Right. If suppose our API depends on third-party API. Suppose third-party API is down. Right. We will get a challenges. Right. Suppose regularly third-party library APIs are getting down. Our test execution will block, right. Right, that is also challenging. In that case, what we can do, we can use the mocking, right, wire mock, postman mock server, right. We can mock the that right, third party API response, we can mock it and send to our application to continue our execution without blocking, right. We can tell that is also one challenge. Performance and load testing, right, performance ensuring API can handle high traffic without failure. This is comes under performance testing. Error handling and negative testing, right. We have to handle all the negative scenarios, right, different types of errors and negative testing, right. If you want to verify security testing also, SQL injection, XSS attacks, right. If you want to do, right, that is also one challenging, right. Sometimes API versioning and backward compatibility, ensuring new API version don't break existing functionality, right. Whenever new version is releasing API, right, we have to make sure both old one and the new one both are working, right. We have to make sure that that is also one. Sometimes such type of projects will be also there, right? They are some, right? APIs means some devices may use old one, some devices they are updating to new one. Then we have to make sure both versions should work, right? Such type of application, it is very difficult, right? That is also a more challenge. And data validation, schema testing, right? In the response correct data, that is more challenge, right? If you have a array of big array is coming in the response, right? Validation, right? Client is asking, they want each and field is correctly coming or not, right? Big task. Schema testing also, right? Whether correctly coming, string is coming in string format only, integer coming integer format, double coming double format only, right? We have to make sure that. And schema validation little bit a challenging one only, right? Because each and every field correctly populating correct format data, right? It is very difficult. That is also a challenging schema validation. Right? Schema validation, multiple API versions, uh, right? Load testing, if you are aware of it, performance and load testing is also a challenging one. And wire mark, whenever a third party APIs are down, wire mark, these are all challenging things only, right? Different challenges, we can tell any one or two challenges, or if you really face challenges, right, we can tell them. How do you, how do we represent a resource interest, right? How do we resource means what? Resource is to identify the, right, resource, right? A resource is a rest represented in URI that describes the identity, right? I want to, right, suppose get the employee or get the user based on what? Suppose here, by using users 123, that means it will go to users and then search for 123. Based on this resource, it will identify which user should bring it, right? Here it is a base URL, resource URL, specific resource id, right? By using the resource only, it will identify the, execute the request, whatever developers they will write a resource IDs, right? Suppose retrieve the resource, create the new resource, update or post, partially update, right? These are all. Delete is to remove, right? JSON format, if you want, this is the response of the get request, suppose 123, right? Users means just if you get request using users means it will retrieve all the users. Specific user ID means it will get the only specific ID, right? Sub resource, we can have a, see here also multiple resource, multiple path parameters also we can have in the here. Users 123, and then this user orders, this is sub resource, that means in middle, it is getting from, it is filter, what it is doing, it is getting the 123 user and again 123 orders related to query parameters, filtering and sorting, right? Then hypermedia, if you want to send the links, right, we can also send the links, right? These are all the resource identification only, right? Whenever resource is right, different types of get, post, put, delete resources, right? What exactly needs to be verified in API testing, right? What we need to verify API testing, right? Successful request, right? Whenever you execute, whether successful, whether 200 is coming, for created 201 we will get. Resource not found, are we getting 404 or not? For invalid request, for bad request, for unauthorized access 401, forbidden 403, internal 500. Whether correctly getting or not, we have to validate negative testing, positive, both, right? For API testing means we have to validate all the developers will have a application specific codes also will be there. These are all general codes, right? Application specific codes also will be there. We have to test all the codes. Response body, data validation, right? Whatever we are getting response, we have to validate all the fields, right? No missing fields, proper data, no null and empty values. These are all we have to validate. Schema validation. If required, we need to validate schema also, and headers and response headers, request header, response headers, and authentication, authorization working properly or not, query and path parameters working or not, error handling and negative testing, and performance. If required, we have to test performance testing also, security testing, API versioning and backward compatibility. Right? If your application is supporting versions also, we have to test backward compatibility. And there are different API testing. What we need to verify: status codes, response body, schema, headers, authentication, security working properly, query and path parameters, error handling, performance, security, versioning. These are all working or not, we have to verify in API testing. What is the difference between put and post? Basically, what we know, put means it will create, right? Update the resource, update or create the resource. If not, right, while giving the request, right, that is also based on the developers only, how they will write. If they will allow to create, it will create, otherwise it will not, automatically will not create it, based on the developers code only. Right? Put means generally to update the request, post means to create the request. Idempotent, yes, multiple identification request result same outcome. Right? If we update multiple times the same data, right, same response we will get, that is called idempotent. But in create means we will get every time new resource, right? Not idempotent. When to use? When updating the existing resource. This is to add the new resource. Contains entire updated resource, contain new resource data. 200 for OK, 201 for created. Here 201 for created, 400 for bad request. Right? Some put create. No side effects if repeated. Creates multiple resources if repeated. Right, this is the just a request and response bodies. What could be the HTTP method for the below API scenario? Right, here there is a one scenario. Right, there is a one scenario. If it is a get or post, right, they are asking. They have given some scenario whether it is a get or post. Right, what it has? It has an endpoint, parameters, headers, cookies, and payload. Right, whenever we have a payload, automatically what it is a post request only. Get means get don't have any payload. Right, most of the time we will not have payload. Right, because if you see reasoning, it is a post because the presence of the payload indicates that data being sent to the server, which is a characteristic of post. Get requests don't have a body most of the times. Right, post request typically will have a include parameters, headers, cookies, payload. They involve creating the processing the data. Right, then how would you send attachments? Right, attachment. Sometimes we will get this interview question. Suppose if you want to send the attachment, we can accept the file uploads, but we need to use the multi-part form data in the request. Right, it is a header. We need to use multi-part form data. Right, for REST issue, right, suppose we can create the file object. Here we have a REST issue.given multi-part. If we are using Postman means we have to give multi-part right, slash form data. Then path of the that right, file. In REST issued means we can create the file object and then we can give multi-part and then pass the file object. And content type we have to give what is the content type, multi-part form data. Right, we can send like that, multi-part form data. If you want to send multiple also we can send multi-part, we can call multiple types and keep the file one file too. Right, like this. Then what are the core components of HTTP request? In HTTP request, what are the things we will have? Right, it has a method, it has a request URL, it has a version. Right, HTTP request consists of several key components to communicate with the client. Right, what are the things it will have? HTTP method, it will have request URL version. Right, if you see here, get method, it has a request URL and then HTTP version. It has get post put delete request path, typically HTTP 1.1 or HTTP 2 it will use. Right, and it has a headers. Right, a request will have a some headers. What type of headers? Mostly content type, authorization, accept, these we will have. Request body is optional. Right, for get we don't have, for put and post we will have. Right, for to upload the files we will have a multi-part form data or application slash PDF. Right, we have a query parameters, path parameters, cookies. We can also send cookies. Right, this is the, see, here is the request URL. These are the content type, authorization, accept, user agent. When we see Postman request, right, we will see all these things. Postman request. Then why is API testing considered most suitable form for automation testing? Right, why it is suitable for? One is faster execution speed. Right, one is the faster execution. Right, UI if I want to automate and it will take a lot of time. Right, for testing API is very easy and very fast. It will execute very within milliseconds. Right, CI/CD pipeline we can integrate and execute very quickly. More reliable than UI. Right, always we can get consistent result. But UI testing, right, what will happen if UI is slow or down? There might be multiple challenges we will get UI testing. But API is most reliable and we will get quickly responses. Better test coverage. Right, APIs are very easy to automate and we can cover more test cases. Right, easy integration with the CI/CD pipeline. Supports multiple platforms. Right, we can web, mobile, desktop. APIs are platform independent, meaning same test can work on different platforms. Right, easier to automate and maintain. Right, these are all fast execution, more reliable, covers more test cases, easy to integrate with CI/CD, cross-platform, lower maintenance, improve security testing also we can do it. List out a few authentication techniques. What are the authentication techniques? We will have a basic authentication. Basic authentication means we have to send username, password, encoded in base 64. Directly we can pass it, username and password. Right, for a API key authentication, sometimes we can P authorization is a API key. Right, OAuth 2. Right, we can use a OAuth 2 token based authentication. OAuth 2 and then JWT, JSON Web Token. This is one type of authentication. Right, a digest authentication. We can use mutual TLS, right, client server authentication. Then OpenID Connect. This is one type of authentication, right? Basic auth, API key auth to JWT, digest auth, right, MTLS, OpenID Connect. Right, these are the different types of authentications we can. How would you define API details in REST assured automation? Right. REST assured means we must have a base URI and the base path. Right, we can take a headers. Right, what are the headers? What is the authorization, query parameters? Right, then resource URL. Then validate the response. Right, that is the simple get request and then post request. Post request means we have to send the body. Right, for post request we have to send the body. Put also we need to send the body. For delete just like a get only. Right, which resource we want to delete. Handling path parameters. Right, by using REST assured we can do all these things, path parameters, query parameters. Right, same thing, whatever Postman we can do, same thing in REST assured also we can do it. Right, what protocol is used by RESTful web service? Right, it will use a HTTP protocol, right, hypertext transfer protocol. Right, hypertext transfer protocol. Why HTTP? It is a lightweight, stateless, widely supported. Works over TCP/IP, making it suitable for web-based APIs. Uses standard methods like get, post, put, delete. Supports caching, security, authentications, all. Right, it is a lightweight and we can transfer on a over TCP/IP network, and we can use different types of methods, and we can use different types of securities. HTTP methods. What are HTTP methods? Get, post, put, delete, patch. These are all. Right. HTTPS. Right. Secured. HTTPS means secure protocol. Right. It uses SSL TLS for encrypted. Most of the web application, if you use Amazon, Flipkart, right, starting there will be SSL, and it will say HTTPS secured. That means more secured protocol. Right. What is idempotent? Idempotent we have seen, right. Idempotent in Appium is making multiple requests should produce same result. Right. If you are executing get request, I want to get user 1 10 times, 100 times, same output will come. That is called idempotence. Idempotent. Post is not idempotent because every time it will produce a different response, right? Because ID will create every time different response we will get. That is not idempotent. Get is idempotent, put is idempotent, delete is idempotent, but post is not idempotent. Post and patch are not identical, right? And then list out a few common JSON parsing techniques. Right, parsing techniques in JSON by using rest assured, right? We can do by using JSON path. Right, if we have a JSON, suppose if you want to get the data, we can convert by using JSON path object, pass it by getting JSON path get string of name, right, get int. One way is by creating the JSON path object, we can get the data JSON path dot get string get int, right, like that. Or by using rest assured, right. Suppose see here also response dot JSON path, we can get directly JSON path. Once we get the response after executing rest assured, response dot JSON path, here also get string get name we will get. Extracting array content, if you want to extract, suppose you have a string JSON path, create the JSON path, get a list of users dot id. Suppose I want to get all the IDs, users dot id. If you want to get names, users dot name, right, users dot name, all list of names we will get it. Right, by using ham crashed matches also, ham crashed matches. That means within the request, then status code, see body name equal to body email contains string, email contains, right, we can use a ham string. And we can also serialization, deserialization also we can validate the response we can convert into. When we will go for this user defined objects, right, if we have a large request, large response, suppose, right, that is very difficult to iterate. If you convert to Pojo class, right, it is very easy to getter methods by using, we can get the data, right, by using JSON path or ham cached matches or deserialization. What is meant by payload in RESTful? Payload when we will use to create the request, to update the request, right? Either JSON format, XML format. It will be sent over HTTP, right? It will be sent as a HTTP request, received as HTTP response. It is usually in JSON or XML format. In the RESTful web service, it will be JSON. Either it will support both JSON format or XML format. Right, get don't have any payload, delete also don't have, post, put, patch, it will have a payloads, right, it will have a payload. So what are the difference between API testing, UI testing? Right, API testing means right, basically we will do backend, directly we will execute our logic on the server, we will hit the server, get the response. But UI testing means front end, there will be a front end user interface will be there, right, we will do by using Selenium or different UI testing tools, we can do the actions. Validates API endpoints, request response, data format, security performance. UI means UI components, usability testing, visual elements. At a lower level, directly test business logic and data exchange. Higher level, test the UI interactions. Right, it is faster as it directly interacts with the right application. It is slower as it involves in rendering. Right, execution can be automated using REST assured Postman, right, JMeter, but here Selenium, Cypress, Playwright or Appium, independent of UI. Right, it is requires the UI. It is in the format of JSON and XML format. Here we will have a UI elements, right? Text box, button, images. Error detection, logical and data processing, and integration issues, early development, right? We can easily error detection. We can easily find out, right, in the API. Here, visual bugs only. UI means visual bugs, right? Whenever if we submit the data, if there is any error when you are entering the data, we can see visually. Right, security means it will have a authentication here, right? API will support different types of authentication. UI means it will developers will use some XSS, CSS issues, click jacking. There is some vulnerabilities are there to achieve it. They will use some right scripts, JS scripts to security wise. Here we can mock the stuff the server, right? Simulate the API response. Here we cannot use any real UI only. We have to use. We cannot mock. One more important question, different status codes and their description. Right, right. Mostly 100 means right. It is the request is received. Client should continue sending the request body. 100 means informational. Mostly we will not see this. So far I did not see. 100 is continue switching protocol. 101 is the server is switching to different protocols. 100 is means informational response. 200 means success. 200 we will get whenever we will execute get request or put or delete. For create we will get a 201. 202 accepted. The request received but still is being processed. 204 no content. For delete we will get sometimes 204. Right, we will not get any content. Just it will delete it. 300 redirection. Right, 300 redirection. It will do internally. Right, if we hit the one API internally, maybe it will invoke another API redirection. 301 moved permanently. The resource has been moved to new URL. 302 found temporary redirection. 304 not modified. The resource hasn't changed. And these are all redirection responses. These are all not an issues. 100, 200, 300. It is not an issues. 400 is an error. Client errors. Right, if you send the bad request, then we will get 400. Unauthorized, if you send invalid credential. Forbidden, you don't have access to it. Not found, if you send a resource URL wrong, 404. Method not allowed, instead of get, if you send post, we will get 405. 409 conflict, the request conflict the current state of the resource, duplicate entry. 429 too many requests, the client has sent too many requests in the short period. 500 means server error. Right, 500 means basically we will get bad 100, right? 500 internal server, bad gateway. 502 bad gateway, 503 service unavailable, gateway timeout. We will get the gateway timeout, internal server error regularly. 200 means success, 300 redirection, client side error, 400 server side error, 500. We must cautious about 400 and 500 series. Can you use get request instead of put to create the resource? Right, no. Get is meant for the retrieval, right, not to modify or create. We cannot use get to create the resource, right? It is only to retrieve the information. No request body, always return the same response, does not modify the data. Data could be logged in the browser. Right, get is not meant for the creation. Right, these are the some of the questions, right, interview questions we can expect. Right, if we have any queries, Right, anything suggestions, please comment in the comment section. Right, please share to your friends. Right, if you like my way of teaching and content presentation, just subscribe to the channel. Right, for more interesting videos, you will get, please enable notifications so that whenever I will release the video, you will get notification. Right, please you can give the suggestions. I will improve myself. Thanks for watching.